January 17th, 1943. The North Atlantic Ocean. Aboard U-255, a Type VIC submarine slicing through the icy swells under a leaden sky. The air inside is thick with the stench of diesel fuel, unwashed bodies, and the metallic tang of fierce sweat. Dim red lights cast long shadows on the control room walls as the crew huddles over charts, their faces gaunt from weeks at sea. Commander Reinhard Ricci, a veteran of the wolfpacks, taps out a message on the Enigma machine, its rotors clicking like the inexorable march of fate. The encrypted signal beams out into the ether, coordinating an ambush on convoy HX-223, laden with American supplies bound for Britain. Confidence hums through the boat like the low vibration of the engines. The Enigma, that marvel of German engineering, is unbreakable, a shield against the prying eyes of the enemy. Little do they know, across the ocean in a nondescript building in Washington, D.C., American cryptographers are already unraveling those very threads, turning the tide of the sea war in ways that will shatter illusions and rewrite the course of history. This moment in the frigid depths of the Atlantic encapsulates the precarious balance of the Battle of the Atlantic, a campaign that stretched from the war's outset in 1939 to its bitter end in 1945, where control of the sea lanes determined the fate of nations. By early 1943, the conflict had reached a critical juncture. Germany, under the command of Grand Admiral Karl Donitz, sought to strangle Britain's lifeline, severing the flow of food, fuel, and munitions from North America. Donitz, who had risen to lead the Kriegsmarine's U-boat arm in 1939, envisioned his submarines as the decisive weapon, operating in coordinated wolfpacks to overwhelm Allied convoys. The Enigma machine was the linchpin of this strategy, allowing secure communication between U-boats and headquarters in occupied France. Introduced commercially in the 1920s and militarized by the Germans in 1926 for the Navy and 1928 for the Army, Enigma transformed plaintext into ciphertext through a series of rotating rotors and a plugboard, offering an astronomical number of possible settings, estimated at 158 quintillion combination for the standard three-rotor model. German officers from Donitz downward harbored an unshakable faith in its invulnerability, a belief rooted in rigorous testing and the machine's complexity. As one German cryptographer later reflected in post-war interrogations, the system was deemed absolutely secure, with no conceivable way for enemies to penetrate its veil without capturing the daily key settings, a risk mitigated by strict protocols. Yet, the reality unfolding beneath the waves told a different story. German U-boat crews, hardened by the rigors of submarine warfare, entered the Battle of the Atlantic with expectations of swift dominance. They anticipated a repeat of the happy times of 1940 and 1941, when unescorted merchant ships fell prey to their torpedoes in droves. Crews like those on U-255 imagined themselves as predators in an endless hunt, their Enigma-secured orders allowing them to converge on targets with predatory precision. Donitz himself projected confidence, noting in his memoirs that the U-boat was the weapon that could bring Britain to her knees, with monthly sinkings peaking at over 700,000 tons in November 1942. The men expected glory, promotions, and a war shortened by their efforts, buoyed by propaganda that painted the Atlantic as a German lake. Instead, they encountered a nightmare of unforeseen ambushes and mounting losses. By mid-1943, convoys that should have been vulnerable were rerouted mysteriously. Destroyer escorts appeared as if summoned by clairvoyance, and depth charges rained down with lethal accuracy. The emotional toll was profound. Elation turned to bewilderment, then despair. Survivors of sunk U-boats, bobbing in oil-slicked waters, whispered of ghosts guiding the Allies, their faith in Enigma's sanctity cracking under the pressure of inexplicable defeats. The roots of this reversal trace back to the interwar years, when the first chinks in Enigma's armor were forged not in Germany, but in Poland. In 1928, Polish cryptanalysts detected the machine's introduction through anomalies in German radio traffic, such as altered letter frequencies. By 1931, aided by documents sold by German trader Hans de Lo Schmidt to the French and shared with Warsaw, mathematician Marian Rejewski deduced the rotor wirings using algebraic equations. Joined by Jerzy Rositzky and Henryk Zygalski, Rejewski developed the bomba, a mechanical device that tested thousands of rotor positions in hours. By 1938, the Poles were reading Enigma traffic routinely, but Germany's addition of 2 extra rotors that December overwhelmed their resources. Facing imminent invasion after Hitler's seizure of Czechoslovakia in March 1939, the Poles convened a secret meeting on July 25th to 26th, 1939, in Persis, where they disclosed their breakthroughs, including Enigma replicas and the bomba, to British and French intelligence. This act of desperation handed the Allies a priceless head start just weeks before the war erupted on September 1st, 1939. Building on this foundation, the British Government Code and Cipher School at Bletchley Park assembled a team of brilliant minds, including mathematician Alan Turing and engineer Gordon Welchman. Turing, arriving in September 1939, refined the Polish bomba into the bomb, an electromechanical marvel that exploited cribs, assumed plain text segments like weather reports or standard phrases, to eliminate impossible settings. Welchman's diagonal board addition in 1940 addressed the plug board's complexities, enabling the first bomb, built by Harold Doc Keane at the British Tabulating Machine Company, to become operational by August 1940. Over 210 British bombs were produced, each simulating 36 Enigma machines in parallel, with rotors spinning at 100 revolutions per minute. These devices cracked the Luftwaffe and Army Enigma variants by 1940, yielding ultra-intelligence that informed operations from North Africa to Normandy. However, the Naval Enigma, dubbed Dolphin and later Shark, with its 4-rotor upgrade in February 1942, proved more elusive due to stricter key discipline and fewer cribs. It was here in the naval theater that American cryptographers entered the fray, ultimately turning the tide at sea. The United States, neutral until Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, had limited access to Enigma intercepts initially. But as U-boats ravaged American coastal shipping in early 1942, sinking 216 vessels in the second happy time, the urgency mounted. The U.S. Navy's OP-20G unit, under Commander Joseph Wenger, visited Bletchley Park in 1941 and 1942, obtaining bomb blueprints. Recognizing the need for faster machines to handle the 4-rotor Shark, the Navy contracted the National Cash Register Company, NCR, in Dayton, Ohio, in March 1942 to develop high-speed bombs. Engineer Joseph Desch, despite scrutiny over his German heritage, led the effort at the Naval Computing Machine Laboratory, NCML, collaborating with Lieutenant Commander Ralph I. Meter. Amid wartime shortages, they prototyped Adam and Eve, completing the first operational bomb by May 1943. These American bombs were engineering triumphs. Each stood 7 feet high, 10 feet long, weighed 5,000 pounds, and featured 4 high-speed rotors capable of 1,725 revolutions per minute, processing runs in just 20 minutes, far surpassing British models. Installed at the Naval Communications Annex in Washington, D.C., by summer 1943, 121 units were operated round the clock by Waves, women accepted for volunteer emergency service, who wired rotors in secrecy under armed guard. The first breakthrough came on May 28, 1943, when a bomb run yielded settings that decrypted U-boat messages, revealing refueling rendezvous. This intelligence led to the sinking of U-118 and 9 of 12 German tanker submarines by Allied aircraft that summer, crippling Donit's logistics. The impact on the Battle of the Atlantic was immediate and devastating for Germany. In May 1943, dubbed Black May by the Kriegsmarine, Allied forces sank 41 U-boats, over a third of the operational fleet, while losing only 34 merchant ships. Donitz, in a May 24th order, withdrew his submarines from the North Atlantic, admitting in his war diary that we have lost the Battle of the Atlantic. Monthly sinkings plummeted from 282,000 tons in March 1943 to under 50,000 by year's end. American bombs, handling 55% of naval Enigma breaks by 1944, reduced decryption delays to 12 hours, allowing real-time convoy rerouting and offensive strikes. Captures like U-559 in October 1942, which yielded the short weather cipher, provided crucial cribs while integrated Allied efforts, combining ultra with radar, sonar, and long-range aircraft, sealed the victory. By war's end, the Allies had sunk or captured 95% of Germany's 1,162 commissioned U-boats, with over 28,000 of 40,000 crewmen lost, at a cost of 3,500 merchant ships and 175 warships. Amid these factual chronicles of machinery and mayhem, a subtle symbol emerges from the accounts of survivors. The American chocolate bar, a simple confection that embodied the abundance of a democratic society at war. In the holds of those protected convoys, crates brimmed with Hershey's bars, rationed to U.S. servicemen as a taste of home's plenty. When U-boat crews were plucked from the sea by American destroyers, as happened to survivors of U-255 after its sinking in April 1943, they were often handed these bars, rich, sweet, and utterly foreign to their Spartan diets of black bread and tinned meat. This chocolate, mass-produced in Pennsylvania factories, churning out millions weekly, represented the industrial might and egalitarian spirit of America, where even soldiers enjoyed luxuries undreamed of in the Reich's austerity. It recurred in prisoner interrogations, where German sailors marveled at the wrapper's promise of endless supply, a stark contrast to their own dwindling provisions as wolfpacks faltered. The Enigma's fall transformed perceptions on both sides. For Germans, the unassailable machine became a symbol of hubris undone. Donitz, post-war, reflected in his 1958 memoirs that the enemy had achieved a mastery over our U-boats, which we could not understand, attributing losses to radar rather than code breaks, a testament to Ultra's secrecy, declassified only in 1974. Officers like Otto Kretschmer, Germany's top U-boat ace captured in March 1941, later admitted bewilderment at Allied prescience. Their ideology of technological superiority shattered. This shift eroded morale. By 1944, U-boat volunteers dwindled, replaced by conscripts facing 75% mortality rates. For the Allies, particularly Americans, the breakthrough affirmed the power of collaborative ingenuity. Turing's 1942 visit to the U.S. to advise on bombs fostered transatlantic synergy, with OP-20G's innovations accelerating victories. The emotional resonance lay in the quiet heroism of cryptographers, Desch enduring FBI scrutiny, Waves laboring in sweltering rooms, whose unseen work saved countless lives, turning abstract mathematics into concrete triumphs. As the war progressed, the chocolate bar's symbolism deepened. In POW camps like those in Virginia, where captured U-boat men received American rations, including these treats, it underscored the ideological chasm. Germans, indoctrinated in scarcity for the fatherland, encountered a democracy's bounty. Factories producing 24 million bars weekly by 1945 distributed equitably. This abundance mirrored the cryptanalytic effort, free minds pooling resources against tyranny's secrets. When U-505 was captured intact in June 1944 off West Africa, its Enigma machine and codebooks yielded months of unbroken reads. But the real prize was the glimpse into enemy despair. Survivors, offered chocolate aboard USS Guadalcanal, spoke haltingly of shattered expectations, their wolfpack dreams dissolved in the Atlantic's depths. The transformation extended to broader ideology. Germans entered the war viewing Enigma as proof of Aryan engineering prowess, a tool to enforce total control. Its breach exposed vulnerabilities in that worldview, forcing acknowledgments of Allied superiority. Donitz's May 1943 directive halting operations marked a psychological breakpoint. U-boat commands grew erratic, with over 300 submarines lost that year alone. American cryptographers, by contrast, embodied democratic resilience. Diverse teams of mathematicians, engineers, and operators from varied backgrounds, unbound by rigid hierarchies. Their success, processing 70% of char traffic within 36 hours by 1944, not only shortened the war, but redefined intelligence as an equalizer, where innovation thrived in freedom. Recurring in narratives is that chocolate bar, a tactile reminder amid the abstract world of codes. As convoys swelled to over 100 ships by 1944, laden with tanks, aircraft, and provisions, U-boat spotters radioed in vain, their Enigma messages intercepted and decoded in Dayton's humming halls. Captured commanders, tasting the sweetness during interrogations, pondered the society that could afford such extravagance even in war. It symbolized not just material wealth, but ideological abundance, the freedom to invent, adapt, and share knowledge, contrasting the Reich's secretive paranoia. In the epilogue of this saga, as the last U-boats surrendered in May 1945, the Enigma's unraveling whispers a poetic truth. Freedom's light pierces the darkest veils of oppression. The American chocolate bar, handed across barbed wire or life rafts, becomes a metaphor for democracy's enduring gift. Abundance born of ingenuity, where minds unshackled by tyranny decode not just ciphers, but the very illusions of superiority. In breaking Enigma, the Allies did more than win battles at sea. They affirmed that true strength lies in the open exchange of ideas, a bounty that sustains nations through the storms of history, ensuring that the echoes of liberty outlast the machinery of